Welcome to Wizard Team, a Black magical podcast for Black magical stories.
Hi everyone, it's Bayana, Robyn, and Porshèa embarking on a journey through the many fantasy stories written by and about Black people. We're super excited because we are continuing our read of Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. And today we are discussing chapters 6 through 8.
But first, previously on Wizard Team, Bree and Alice are taken back to campus from the quarry by a cop. I think his name was Norris. Basically dealing with all of the, microaggressions and tension and, worries about being in a cop car as a Black person. And then on top of that, we find out that this guy not only knows Selentor, but answers to them somehow. So this grown man answers to these teenagers who Bree just previously saw kill a monster that very few people can see. So she's kind of freaked out about the things and the way things are connecting here, the things that are adding up. So now she's kind of realizing no, magic is definitely real. Hate this for her. So then later the next day she's called into the dean's office, since of course they were caught and had to be returned to campus in a cop car. So the dean, so they're not expelled, but they are on probation and are given peer mentors, which Bree is not happy about, but also feels like of the punishments and the things that could happen, it's not too bad. And as we'll find out, is really not that bad. Then, I'm laughing at my bullet points. I wrote, Alice needs to cool it down, heated. But yeah, so Alice is pissed at Bree for getting
I wish I had
her
my
into
fans
this
if you
situation. I know. Fan her off. She's hot. So yeah, so she's really upset. She and Bree get into this huge fight. Sort of on Alice's side, not completely understanding how Bree is different and where she's coming from and where some of these impulses are coming from. And then on Bree's side, not feeling like she can open up to Alice, and instead of trying to explain to her how things have changed and how she's feeling, lashing out and trying to closing herself off. So after they get into their huge fight, Bree talks to her dad, does not tell him about all of the technically illegal activities she's been up to, even though he's going to find out later that day. And she knows that he's going to find out. So instead of heading it off at the pass, she just lies and, doesn't say anything about it. But in their conversation, we kind of see how he's able to kind of get past her walls and how their grief kind of butts heads in some kinds of ways, but her dad is trying to be there for her and make sure she's okay and take care of her, and she wants that distance so that she can kind of hold it all in, essentially. But talking to him on the phone kind of opens up those floodgates, and while she's trying to deal with that grief, she also unlocks a memory from the night of her mom's death, where she realizes that someone has tampered with her memories in the same way that Cell did back in chapter 2. And so she is now thinking there's something magical has to do with her mom's death. And now she's we don't have to figure out what's going on, because if these folks have something to do with my mom's death, then they're gonna pay.
Now we're into chapter 6, and I found this so funny. So it starts, I have to read this part because I was like, girl, what? So Bree says, where do we begin? At the beginning, which is how she ended her conversation with her dad, and says, well, by dinner, I have the beginnings of a plan. And I'm just a plan for what? Also, though, in the We Stand Bree Forever, Look at her being resourceful and inquisitive. But
no, literally,
also,
I like reading just this like stretch of chapters. I kind of like went back and forth between being like, "Girl, what are you doing?" and like, "Yeah, you do this. You know, Bree, like you do this," but also like, "Ma'am,"
right? Because she's like, oh, magic is real. Oh, this has something to do with my mother. And then she's like, I'm formulating a plan. I'm a plan for what is the end goal? We don't know the end goal. We know there's the beginnings of a plan. We begin at the beginning to by yourself.
It's one of those things
so,
where I
anyway.
feel like she's very like, or she's definitely very reckless, and like obviously we don't know if she was like this in the same way like before. You know, we talk about before and after Bree, but this Bree is very reckless and is like, I'm gonna do this thing. But I think she also in some ways like, well, she's very smart, but I think that she relies on that. Like she doesn't. Yeah. It's not like, oh, even if she hasn't thought steps ahead, she's like, whatever situation I end up in, like, I think I can figure my way out of it instead. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of how it feels like she's approaching the situation. Not like, who knows what's going to happen? It's more like, okay, I can get myself here. And then when I get there, I can maybe get myself.
I'll know more information and I'm smart enough to, like, figure out the next steps.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but, you know, I'm like, okay, but are you investigating alone? You've just gotten to this big fight with Alice. You are self-isolating, like, what's going on? And then Bree's like, no, I told you, I'm brilliant. You haven't figured this out yet? It's chapter 6, keep up. And so she texts Charlotte, very, like, this is, I believe, Porshèa, you were saying, like, I wonder if she likes mysteries or, before, if that was like kind of the thing that she was doing, because it's very Nancy Drew-esque. Like
it is very a pup named Scooby-Doo. Like it is very
yeah.
like, the red herring.
Interrogate this woman without her knowing she's being interrogated and doing it in a very cool way. She's like, "Hey, we didn't get expelled," and like you get the sense that Alice and Bree know Charlotte and were friendly enough with Charlotte that they felt like comfortable going to this party with her, but they were not close to Charlotte. It wasn't like, oh, we're going to get to UNC early college and then we'll meet up with Charlotte and it'll be the three amigos. It's like the two of them figuring it out, and then it's like, oh, we know this girl and she's all right, you know.
But it's also like
she's just
Charlotte, they know Charlotte, like Bree knows Charlotte enough to know how to play Charlotte. Like, to know, like, how to be, like, get what the industry wants without invoking any questions from Charlotte.
Exactly. So she's like, Charlotte seems like, or she's the type of girl who lives with her phone in her hand, never on silent, you know. So she's, like, doing the yes, like, it's very, like, I can see her, you know the Mean Girls quote where it's like, oh my God, I love your skirt, and then she walks away and it's the ugliest fucking skirt I've ever seen. It's like, I can see Bree, like, putting on that, oh my God, we made it through, we not expelled, but, like, in her dorm room, straight-faced, just giving, like
oh my gosh, LOL.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So then she finds out, she asks Charlotte, like, oh, I saw these two people. So she finds out about Tor. Charlotte says, that's Victoria Morgan, and then, quote, her daddy and granddaddy and whoever else, all the way back to whenever, went to UNC. Couple years ago, her fam donated so much money to the B school, they renamed a building after them. Old money, good old boys, legacy kids, waltz in, get whatever grades, and leave 4 years later with great internships and jobs lined up. And I thought this was interesting coming from Charlotte, because we don't really know, like, what Bentonville is like, but it seems like they have, like, at least 3 kids get into this very prestigious early college program, so it's not, you know,
I mean, they
their
say
high
it's
school
rural.
is not,
like Bree says that
it's rural, but
rural.
It is, I mean, but it's also like, even for a rural town, like 3 kids in a short time being able to get into this prestigious program, like, they're not, it doesn't seem like they're lacking for, like, good education, even in their, like, small high school, right? But, and then what we get from Charlotte in that early thing is that she seems kind of, you know, party girlish or whatever, but you can see, and this is, like, something that I was thinking about also in regards to, like, our world and, like, you know, the Supreme Court ruling and stuff. It's really interesting, like, which advantages are seen as unconstitutional versus which advantages are seen as earned and deserved. And even Charlotte, who on paper, visually, you would think would not align with that, you know, is saying, like, legacy kid walks in, gets whatever they want. And they're saying this to Bree because she knows that, like, that's not their realities, especially as, like, these EC early college kids, right? So I thought it was cool. It was just, like, another little, like, Bree doesn't seem to be, like, super close with Charlotte, but Charlotte feels very comfortable with Bree. Like, that doesn't seem like something that you would freely say to someone that you're not comfortable with, or at least know that their beliefs would align, right?
Unless everyone talks about Tor that way, like maybe she's so disliked that everyone's just like
right.
Tor, the one, like, because you know, like sometimes it's like the legacy kids that are endeared to certain people, so they're like, no, he's fine, like, yeah, we know, we all know,
you give him the benefit of the doubt,
but you're like, oh yeah, we like him. But then other ones you're like, oh, that one, oh, so we don't know, like, if Tor's rep is just bad across campus, and then Charlotte's like, oh, it don't matter if I spill the tea on her because nobody likes her anyway, so we're all chilling. But at the same time, I like that, like growing up in the South, I think that it's interesting because I've had this discussion more recently with people about, like, how sometimes there are folks who buy the BS of, like, the rich folk are looking out for you and they're willing to, like, they're friendly and they're willing to give you jobs and put you on or whatever. And it's like, no, they're willing to make you do labor for them. That's what they're willing to do. Like, you're not getting an in, you're getting more labor to do for them. And then other people are, like, not necessarily full, like, because it's not, I don't feel like it's resentment. I feel like it's, like, truly well-placed distrust of wealthy folks and the systems that they've created and that they go from. And so for me, Charlotte, when you said it is interesting that Charlotte is responding that way, but it was hard to know if it's a character judgment of Charlotte or if she's just spilling tea. Like, I wish we could tell the difference for her. Like, if their background growing up, if she's more likely to be the kind that'll be like, nah, I ain't effing with it, like, every legacy kid here can get it, or if she's like, nah, Tor specifically cannot. And I'm sorry, I don't go here, but something about the description of Tor by Charlotte gave me Taylor Swift and I Knew You Were Trouble When You Walked In. That's what I got from Charlotte talking about Tor. Like, when Tor walked into the forest, like, trouble.
I also don't go there, so I can't tell you whether you're spot on or not, because I actively do not go there.
I know, like, probably, like, 3 Taylor Swift songs that I can give you lyrics for, and that's the extent of it for that one.
Yeah. I actually like that song, though. And then Never, Ever, Ever Getting Back Together. That one is a earworm. Anyway, so then she switches to Cell, and this is when I was like, me and Charlotte could actually probably be friends. All caps. Cell and Kane was there, and I missed him. All the emojis. She said he never partied with anyone. Holy Jesus, that boy is hot. 3 T's.
Now, I can see you and Charlotte having that conversation, honestly.
Yeah, being like, oh my God, I know, girl, what?
I could see Robyn and Charlotte off in the corner, like, okay, let's talk about our last Cell sighting, okay? So today...
Okay. I need to talk to him, but he was there and my eyeballs weren't blessed. How rude. So then, he's also, what we learned from Charlotte is that Selwyn Kane is an early college junior like Charlotte is. So Tor as a regular, I think that's what they call her, a regular junior, is probably like 20, 21 maybe, and then
showing out like that
because he's early college is like 18, and I wanted to just also applaud Tracy Deonn for making the age differences like acceptable, and so I don't feel gross.
I also I like that Bree says, I think that's when she's like, oh, he's not ageless, he's just 18. Like, he's just a teenager too.
Yeah, he's just a teenager. Which I thought about that too. It's like, yeah, if you see all these college kids, it's really funny that age when you're like, they all look so old. Now me at my big age, all y'all look like babies.
No, literally.
Like, if you're in college,
Ami always laughs at me, or like just is always like side eyeing me when we drive through, because she has like sometimes she has or she has had like programs and stuff around Cal campus, and so we'll be driving.
Yeah.
And you know, I hate driving in Berkeley. This is a tangent, but it's my least favorite place to drive. And like, this is coming from somebody who mostly drives in Oakland, and people just be doing anything. But the bikes, they just be in front of you.
Yeah.
They just don't. I'm like, yo, we're on a narrow lane. Please get on the sidewalk. I know
Do they not have dedicated bike lanes?
They do. They do, but not in certain places because of how narrow the streets are. And I'm like, personally, if I realize that this street is probably not wide enough for bike lanes, then I'm just not going to ride my bike on this street. But no, they be in the lane, just like they're a car. But anyway, it's one of those things where we'll be like going through, and I'm just like, oh, look at these kids, and she's like, they aren't kids.
You mean these grown-ups? They mean these adults?
Right, exactly.
I remember I used to think college, when I was like in middle school, I thought that college, like, but here's the thing. I just want to say this. Being young in the 90s, I feel like the generation of people who were in college, they looked older than what I looked like when I was in college. Like,
is that a? I think that's. I don't think they did. I think that's a TV
They didn't
thing.
Though.
It's a TV thing, and it's a like they don't
didn't
actually.
The people that I knew who were in college when I was young, they looked old.
Looked old because you were young.
No,
this is what I'm trying to say.
If I look at photos of them at 18 versus photos of me at 18, I'm like, y'all, you looked old.
No, oh, okay. See, I don't get that. I've seen pictures of my parents at like. Even their wedding pictures, they got married at like 22, I think. And I look at them and I'm like, oh, y'all look like babies. Yeah. I think I have a picture of my mom.
Like
the picture
It could be like the clothing choices.
Yeah.
Old styling.
Or even like my dad used to have this like.
But usually I'm looking
beard,
like for the facial features of like, do you look old to me? Because kind of like facial features is when I'm like young or old. That's usually where I can feel it. But yeah.
But that was my point, is that like, so Bree at 16 is like looking at these 20-year-olds, because she's younger, is like these are grown ass people, and then looks at Fel and's like, he's an ageless vampire. It's like, oh no, he's just 18. Because those age differences are so like stark when you're that age. But me at my big age, I'd look at Bree, I'd look at Fel, and I'd look at Tor, and I'd be like, children,
literally,
youth. So then she gets the tea that Felon is an EC junior, but he never parties with anyone. He doesn't run in the same circles as Tor ever. So Bree must be mistaken. They were not together. They must have just been standing in the same spot. I think that's how like Bree kind of plays it off like, oh, they were standing next to each other. I thought they were together. And as far as Charlotte knows, Tor has never even seen them speak to each other.
I mean, and I guess technically, like, when they were both, before everybody left, like, Cell was across the clearing, and she was, like, so they weren't, other than the folks that they ended up wiping their memories anyway, they weren't actually, like, together.
I don't even think Bree saw Tor until Tor was, like, doing her whole pulling out the sword kind of.
No, she saw her, like, telling people to leave.
Earlier.
Like, she was trying to clear people out.
So that she could then pull out the sword.
Yeah.
But then so she's like, okay, so the Legendborn avoid each other in public, but in private they're coordinated, organized, and they mentioned a gate on campus, so that's probably where they usually hunt. Charlotte's like, hey, you want to go to a party tonight? Which is so...
That was my thing with Charlotte.
18-year-old...
No.
Like,
no.
Oh, you weren't expelled?
That is someone with extroversion party energy. Because why are you undeterred?
Just got in trouble.
You're completely undeterred. Like I felt like you're apologizing so badly that night for getting them in trouble because like I had no idea that they were going to call the police. And then you're going to be like, let's test it out again, and just in case the police don't come.
Yeah, because there are no real consequences for these actions. There are no long-term consequences. Like long-term, that doesn't exist. We're living the now, baby.
But also, like, if Charlotte went to the police, like, that's a whole different conversation for her than it is for Bree or even Alice.
Yeah.
So she's just like, meh.
Right. And she also, it's funny, too, because, like, I don't think Charlotte, she was there for the first part of their interaction with Officer Norris, so she knew that was tense in a way that probably wouldn't have been for her, obviously.
It may not have
but she didn't think about it.
It may not have registered to her as that tense. It might have been like, oh, it's going to be tense because they're underage anyway. It's not going to register. Like, it's tense for more than just...
Or even just, like, where it's tense because they're in trouble. Like...
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, anybody, if you got picked up by the cops as a kid, or, you know, or whatever, at the very least you're getting in trouble with your parents or potentially expelled,
Right.
but not thinking about the like actual, you know, the added part of being Black.
Yeah.
So, Bree's like, nope, already on the dean's shit list, which I like too, because it's like, one, this is true, and two, it's like an easy way to get out of the conversation. It's an easy, like, you know, because if Charlotte had said, gotta go, but do you want to go stalk, sell, and tour and figure out what they were up to, Bree would have been like, yes, actually I do.
You know what, that's a good idea.
I'll catch you by the dining hall. I was just thinking that. But she's like, you want to go to this party, this frat party? She's like, nah, I don't got time for that. So then she goes through her classes and then goes to dinner. And on her way out, Bree meets Nick. It's very cute. They are flirting. I wrote a note, and I sent it to Bayana. And I was like, we got a triangle. Bayana and Porshèa, y'all might be here for the fantasy. Y'all might be here for the world building. That's awesome. I'm also here for that. But what I'm actually here for, what I RSVP'd for, what I said, early admission for, is this. The romance, the pining, the triangle, the angst, and then some magic. See, but we gotta try.
It's interesting because well, again, you know, I came up during the Twilight era, you know, so triangles have always kind of stressed me out a little bit.
Stress?
Like not stress, but just like, I don't know, I've never really loved them, and also it was
like, here we
really
go
easy.
again.
At least in Twilight for me, with Twilight for me, is that until a certain moment, we all know when that happened, but until Jacob's character was ruined, I was team Jacob, right? But I always knew that she was gonna get with Edward, right? So I'm like, like, there's no, like, so then it was just annoying because it was like, she should be with Jacob, but I guess that's not gonna happen, so whatever, and I'm gonna keep reading,
but it is what
it is what it is kind of thing. Whereas, like, and I think, like, Tracy spent a lot, like, before Legendborn came out, I remember, like, she was tweeting a lot about, like, how she wanted it to be, like, a difficult, you know what I mean, like, where it's very clear who she's gonna go for type situation. And so I like that. Like, I personally, like, I think, you know, Legendborn gives more time with Bree and Nick, and then Bloodmark is more Bree and Sel, which I liked. But in terms of just, like, straight up, like, archetypal or, like, my type of fictional character or fictional love interest, Nick is more my speed, but Sel also makes points. It's a hard one.
And I'm the opposite.
On a scale of like 1 to 10, if 1 was Sel and Nick was 10, and I'm only saying it, like, the numbers don't actually mean anything, more just for the visual spectrum. I'd be like at a 6, so like real close to halfway, but like I'm leaning a little bit.
And I'm at a 2
for Nick.
No. One is Sel.
I'm on the Sel side at a 2. So if we're doing the line and Sel's up here
I only said
1,
numbers because
Nick's up here at 10.
It's an audio thing.
Yeah.
We're doing that line. I'm straight up. Me and Sel could reach out and touch. We could reach out and hold each other's hands. I'm over there. We close.
She's like, I'm not even on the spectrum.
I've been tired, like love triangles have never been like they, at one point, at some point in my life, there was a love triangle that it had to have done something to me where I was just like, I'm tired. This is
Hunger Games, because that was it for me. Because you know what Hunger Games was? Hunger Games was, she don't want to be with none of these people. The Hunger Games was when I was like, Katniss is an asexual icon.
She's
and refused to let her be. Anyway.
Exo Kitty.
Bree meets Nick.
Oh yeah,
right,
sorry.
You're right.
I'm just gonna make my point for Exo Kitty. Watch it, and we'll come back to this conversation about love triangles and I want to make this point. So after the Sammy, and I forgot what the guy's name is because they go through some drama. Lucas. But after the Sammy Lucas thing, no one ever got it to the same level, and I realized once people pointed it out online that what I really am looking for is a true love triangle, because we keep getting love hinges. And it's like, I don't F with love hinges. It's not doing enough for me. You need to give me an actual full triangle or another shape. Like, don't give me just like an open hinge. Because
a love square. She needs 4 people.
I mean, we might be getting a triangle here, and I'm for it.
And that's why I find
we might be getting a full triangle here.
That's why I find it interesting.
this might be an actual triangle. I love it for everyone. So Nick is waiting for Bree after dinner. He calls her by her full government, said, Brianna Irene Matthews. And she said,
who knows my whole name?
First of
on
all,
this campus.
Looking for the sort of asshole who calls out someone's full name in public to get their attention. I remember when I first read this. And I was like, oh, her daddy done popped up at dinner.
Right.
And then she called him an asshole, and I was like, no, she would have recognized her daddy's voice. Like, I did that.
Do you remember when I...
Right.
Yeah, because like, I freeze. Because it's Brianna Irene Matthews. I freeze. Then pivot slowly to look for the sort of asshole who calls out someone's full name in public to get their attention. And I was like, oh, I ain't calling my daddy an asshole, even in my head, when I know I'm wrong.
Right.
Not gonna be me. So I knew it wasn't her daddy then. But it had that word for a moment. It could have been. So here comes this tall white boy with tousled straw blonde hair, the bluest eyes she's ever seen. He's at least 4 inches taller than me, which is saying something, even though as a second year early EC is what they call themselves, he's probably only a year older than I am. Definitely not built like any 17-year-olds I know. She is clocking this boy.
No, it's actually really funny because I think the like descriptions of like the way that she describes Cell and the way that she describes Nick are really like different. They're just very different in general. But it's funny because like she sees Cell and she's like, this is the most beautiful boy I've ever seen in my life.
He's too beautiful to exist.
She sees Nick and is like, but then like she sees Nick and is like cataloging every single part of him.
Yeah.
And is annoyed that she's finding him, like, not that she and Cell clicked in any sense of a word, but like she's annoyed by it. She's just like, ugh, what is this?
So this is how, and this is like one of the things that I thought about when I was wondering if I was ace or not. It's like, this is how I see a lot of like attractive men, especially like I guess like the conventionally attractive or like sexy. I'm like, they're pretty. They're too pretty. They should be in a museum. I find it almost repulsive. Like, wow, look at your symmetry. How boring. Like, and so this is kind of like how I see a lot of those, like, I guess it's the way to say it is like, they're objective, or not even objective, I don't think attraction is objective, but they are like universally attractive, or what like mainstream media, or what we have been socialized to think of as beautiful.
Conventional. They're conventionally attractive.
Conventionally attractive. Thank you. So she's like, with his broad shoulders and narrow waist, he looks like one of those Olympic gymnasts. To me, Olympic gymnast is it's the Olympic swimmers, but still, they're very close in that, broad shoulders, tiny waist. Okay. The thing I find hilarious about it is that I am picturing her turning around, because she calls this man an asshole in her head before she's even seen him. She turns around, she clocks every bit of what he looked like. She's still mad at him, but she's also like, well, how dare you also look like this? But maybe that's just me, because I will find a conventionally attractive person offensive, especially when they're annoying in, like, personality. You can't be annoying in personality, and yet, like, somehow my brain is hardwired to find you appealing. Like, that is...
I'm going to say this. I've not been attracted to a blonde man since Devon Sawa and Casper.
That's valid.
I know
that is valid.
Yeah.
So everything happening here to me, I'm just like, oh, like I read it a different way. I read it like she's like actively trying to not be like, she's not like she's. I get that she's clocking him, but I feel like she's like dissecting him rather than like.
Yeah, she is, but I think that like, and I think it's also more like as they continue to talk, it's like, oh no, like they it's banter. I think I wrote that in really big caps on one of my Post-it notes. Just like they just have this like back and forth, and I think that eases her annoyance, which then has her like, again, not completely. She's not like, oh my god, this is like the finest boy I've ever met in my life. She's just like, okay, I see.
And she doesn't at any point. She's not like. She doesn't like fold under his attractiveness. Right. It's like, I need to, make sure that he finds me attractive. Like, she's not like, oh, all of a sudden I gotta turn on my flirt. She's still like, she walks right past him, walks and says, oh, you're the babysitter, and walks away. He follows her. She's, she's not in the, for one, she's not in the headspace to be flirting and falling and crushing or whatever. But she does, like, objectify this man a little bit.
I noticed that she was, like, after she characterized him as, like, a gymnast body, she's, like, calling out, like, his grace as he walks and, like, his movements. Like, she's, like, so I thought, I was considered it more of, like, she was, like, she literally was, like, dissecting, like, why, like, he moves as it, like, he's, like, he looks like a gymnast, and then she catalogs, what does a gymnast do, and then he moves like a gymnast. He does this and this and this. Yeah. So I thought it was interesting that she looked at him that way as well.
Sorry, I had to mute myself, because... So... he's like, I'm happy to escort you, runs over the thing, and then she's like, how did you know? Or he's gonna walk her to her dorm, and she's like, no, I'm good. And then has a little, like, he has this thing. I have a friend like this who is, like, effortlessly confident and comfortable in all situations in a way that I find annoying, because I am definitely not that. And I get that vibe from Nick. He's just, like, confident in himself. He's a second-year EC or whatever. He's peer mentor. The dean told him what he got to do. But he's not, like, trying to get her to like him. He just knows that she will, because he got it like that. Like, he's just like, we're gonna be friends.
Right.
Let's skip to that part. Like, oh, look at you with your little sassiness. Isn't that funny? Ha 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 ha. And, like, you don't know me. I don't know. You're teasing me like because we're gonna be friends, and so I'm just gonna cut through all of this nonsense and behave accordingly. So she's like, how did you find me? He goes through how he found her, and she's like, well, this is creepy. Or, whatever. And he's like, using one's cleverness to creep and using one's cleverness to diagram the cleverness to creepiness ratio. I am brilliant. Like, he is just like, yep, you right. A little creepy, but also goes to show you that I got smarts too. And then she says, they start to talk, and she, like, her wall is, not her Bree wall, her grief wall, but her standoffishness is, like, crumbling a little bit. She's trying real hard to keep up that, like, I don't want a babysitter, you're the babysitter facade, but he's making inroads. Then she says, his attentive eyes pass over me like he's found my insides and wants to idly peruse them.
He doesn't seem to like it that much, though, but...
No, but she clocks it.
But she clocks it, yeah.
And so, he, like, talks about, how she needs to, or he asked her about the quarry thing, and then she's like, what do you know about the quarry? And he's like, I jumped it, you didn't jump it. And then it, like, kind of goes to show, again, like, yes, Bree and Alice did something wrong, but, like, it was not, and Charlotte did not have the intention of them getting caught up, because it is a rite of passage, and
right, it was hella kids there.
If not for the monster or whatever, it would have been just normal behavior, because apparently they've all done it. He tells Bree that she needs to join a club that's part of, like, the EC thing. He joins cricket. He joined the cricket club to make his dad mad. That makes Bree upset, because why would you want to make your father mad? And she has, like, this moment of, like, I don't know why I care so much about this, but I do. And then she kind of interrogates a little bit more, and it's like, it definitely ties back to my mama.
Yeah, absolutely.
She's like, we lock eyes, brown to blue, and something unexpected passes between us. A tug of friendship, a dropper full of humor. So she's like, ugh, how dare you?
Yeah, I also think that there's, like, because, like, it comes up, or is going to, like, keep coming up, just, like, the connection that they have.
Yeah. Like,
the Arthur Lancelot connection.
Right.
And I think that, which I think I missed the last other, like, I only caught it this time.
Right.
As it being, like, now. There's something that they, like, that's, like, the first kind of spark of that connection that they have that they don't know and, like, whatever, but I think that's the first hint of it.
Right, because I feel like it's very... Oh, sorry. It's, like, very effortlessly. Like, she's trying really hard, right? We've seen, like, now all of these chapters of her trying to keep people at arm's length. keep her walls up. And then one of the things that she says about, like, her, with the conversation with her dad's, like, she wanted to come to EC because he has a way of breaking all of that down and, like, getting in and making her feel vulnerable and stuff like that. And so I don't say this in, like, I read it the first couple times, and even this time, even though now I also know there's a magical thing that's happening here as well, but I still read it as, like, they got chemistry, but the chemistry stems from more than just, like, these two people vibe. What I liked about this exchange or this meeting is that, like, she is not, like, like we said, like, she catalogs him, she clocks that he's attractive, she clocks that, like, he's kind of got this golden boy, like, she says, like, he should be on the college brochures, like, he's just got that kind of vibe, but she's not trying to fall into it, but still kind of does. And so, like, I find that's what I really liked about this, like, interaction.
I just realized about the love triangle and why I probably skew more towards Cell is I may have a fixation on, like, there's something here that wasn't there quite before, like that whole like the beauty, and I'm like, is he the Beast? And she's Belle. I'm like, that's so cute.
I mean, it kind of fits.
And whereas Nick is kind of like, he's not Gaston because he's not Gaston, but at the same time, it's like, is Nick like just like, he's like a Prince Charming, where you're like, oh, of course she ends up Prince Charming. That's the easy story. The messier story is Belle and the Beast. Like, that's the messier story.
I think for me, that's definitely a part of it. Like, I've been Team Cell. But I mean, he's like just an angsty sad boy, and like that is, you know, my brand. But like also, there is conflict in that relationship, and so it just seems more entertaining as a reader. Like, I don't want to, like, the picture perfect thing is like
boring.
In real life,
still boring.
If Bree was like my sister or someone, you know, I'd be like, yeah, let's do the boring thing, because that's great. Like, we stand a boring, you know, it's kind of like,
yeah, because those volatile relationships are not worth it.
It's the Future versus Russell Wilson thing, except Cell is not Future in terms of, like, abusively toxic. He's toxic to himself, but, like, you know what I mean? Tortured. He's tortured, for sure. But, like, everyone's like, oh, Russell Wilson is boring and corny. It's like, a boring and corny man paying the bills and taking care of his family is a great thing.
A Prince Charming kind of, like, archetype.
Yeah.
But I would, but Russell is worth it. He's like, if you want to be a family, if you want to have a family, get with a family man, and that is what Russell Wilson is. Like, that's.
And that's the thing. It's like in real life, it's still boring, but that's what you want for your.
And that's what you want.
Loved ones.
That's
you
what
want
you
them
want,
to be like.
Then you get that person. If you don't want that, then go for another person. But know what you want before you go after a person.
Yes. But in terms of reading it in the book form, you don't want the Russell Wilson. It's too easy. It's too clean.
It's played. We've seen it before. I can pick up multiple books and tell you, this is one of those.
It's kind of the love at first. I hate those. That's one trope that I cannot stand.
Okay, so.
And I read a lot of romance.
I'll have a confession.
I hate love at first sight.
As a K-drama lover, I love Fated Mates. It really gets to me. And so, like, whenever it's like a love hinge or whatever, and they have the guy who met her first is probably going to be the guy who she ends up with, and they trick you because they'll put, like, the first guy you see her meet will be like the second love interest, but you don't know that, even if you know, like, you kind of know because you know who the leads are or whatever. But they'll trick you by quote unquote trick you by having the first person that you see her meet be one guy, but flashback in, like, episode 4, you'll realize that she met the guy that she's really beefing with or whatever when they were children, and now they just, like, come back around and they're fated to be together, and for whatever reason that works on me. And that's but it kind of works for me sometimes.
I'm cool with that. I'm not
I
don't love, like, first I'm like, I think Fated Mates still works because it could still be a slow burn. That still sounds slow to me.
It doesn't mean Fated Mates to me does not mean love at first sight.
Love
at first sight to me.
Sometimes it is.
Sometimes it is. But I mean, I don't think that they're, like. I think that they're I don't think they're mutually exclusive, or they are mutually exclusive. I don't know which way that
They're not mutually exclusive.
They are not mutually exclusive. And so I think that, and not to say that this is love at first sight, because
yeah, I don't think it is.
I'm glad, because this is the second time reading it, and I thought it might have been. I can remember, and now I'm like, oh, she didn't automatically was falling for this boy. Like, no, she was just
it's fast. Like, it's definitely fast, but I think that has to do with there's other things involved, like other factors.
Yeah.
Magic, but also just the situations you're in,
yeah,
shit's popping off, you
go through there's some trauma bonding.
Yeah, I think it definitely happens fast. It's not a slow burn, but it's also not at first sight.
And she's not, I feel this way a little bit more towards the end of the book. But even when there is, the attraction and stuff, she's not, overwhelmed by him. She's still focusing on what she's trying to get out of, her quest and her goals and her plan. Bring it up again. Twilight is one of those where it was, love at first sight, and then she's overwhelmed, and it's all about the boy.
It's her life meant nothing else. Nothing else in her life meant anything to her.
She wanted to be a wife.
Period.
To a vampire. Period. I was like, you ain't got no dreams? God damn.
That was her dream. He achieved them, too.
To be fair, she didn't come into the situation. She did not move to Forks, and, she was like, I've always wanted to be a dentist, and I couldn't wait, or whatever, and then they moved me away from
she was just like, I like English, and that's it.
That's it. That's her only personality trait.
Anyway. I will be atoning for Twilight for the rest of my life. Anyway, so they walk towards the old east side of campus. Bree spots an unearthly light in the distance, and it's rotting neon green. And then this is where we talk about Bree being reckless. Last night I ran away from magic. Tonight I have to run towards it. For my mom, for my dad, for me, I have to know the truth. I have to know if not getting a chance to talk to her again was my fault, or if... And then she runs into this creature. It's
just
magical
imagine
like a wolf
you're
thing.
Meeting your the person
your
mentee. I'm thinking from Nick's perspective. You're meeting your mentee.
Oh,
you're like, okay, I'm getting somewhere. We're figuring things out, and if
building rapport.
And they run away,
and then they literally look over your shoulder, and then they're like, gotta go. Just book.
And they book it.
Imagine if Nick didn't know. Wasn't a Legendborn? Just imagine.
Yeah.
He'd have been like, the hell was that?
I'd be like,
you know what, Dean? I think this is beyond me. I think she needs not a peer mentor, but a therapist.
I bet she needs that too. She does need that.
She does need that as well.
But I do I was thinking about that as I read that part of the chapter. I was thinking about how from Nick's perspective, that Tracy was very intentional with making both of the boys be part of the order. Mm-hmm. Because if one of them were not, then Bree may not be liable to actually try to spend the time to get acquainted with anyone else, because she was just so conscious of getting into the order.
Right. And she's already having to, or not yet, but will have to start keeping secrets from Alice. And so if you're having to keep secrets from this boy that you just met and are interested in, it just makes things a lot more complicated than not a lot more complicated, but just makes it harder in terms of setting that up.
Mm-hmm.
And it gives you an affinity to the other person, the person that is a part of this thing. That's
and then it goes back to what we were saying earlier. Then you're like, oh, I know who she's going to end up with, because that's the one that she's around all the time, because they're in the order together. Yeah.
I was thinking about the fact that, so she takes off running, and then Nick takes off after her and is calling her name. And I'm thinking about this in terms of, I'm on college campus, and I see this tall, youngish black girl running, sprinting, and this boy chasing after her.
The fact that no one else is around is funny.
The optics are terrible.
I just thought...
And it's nighttime, it's after dinner.
No, you know what? I
I'm like,
just thought?
no one else is around and notices this, and no one else.
No, I just thought about the other black kids on campus. Like,
yeah,
she's so lucky she didn't pass by one of them because wouldn't they be running
all
after
of
her
them
too?
And it should have led them straight to danger. Should have led them straight to the danger. That's the worst part. Because if another black person saw her running and started running with her, they would have all been.
And they can't see. They can't see the magic. They're like, no way, this girl's running
like, where are we going?
Danger.
They would have been like, what are we doing? And then next thing they know, they got acid burns. And then
Nick, they're like, oh, we're running away from a white boy.
Yeah.
Oh.
Now I got acid burns? Where did that come from?
Like, what's going on? Oh my god.
What is going on? So
they would know
she
never
sees this wolf-like creature.
Like, nope, she don't.
They see Bree running. They're like, oh, there she goes.
She runs to danger. She doesn't run away from danger. We gotta. She's not.
They're like, where's she from?
We don't do that.
Someone gotta grab her, teach her the ways. So it's this magic wolf, semi-translucent, blackened skin, rivers of steam, 2 rows of teeth on campus. They were walking from the mess hall, the food hall, dining hall, to the old East is what they called it, side of campus. They are on campus. Then the creature launches itself at Bree. Heaving wolf thing. And then Nick, who has been chasing after her, slams in between them. So Nick gets in the way. Or stands in between her and the creature. He's got this silver baton sheathed to his shin, and then he starts to fight.
Well, he pulls it out, and then it like gets longer. It gets across, like it's a sword.
Yeah, it becomes a sword.
Pause on what you just said. You said he pulls it out, and then it gets longer.
Oh my god! Stop.
But so he's got this. Yeah, so he's got this magical sword. And now he's fighting and she's noticing like, no, but he like knows what he's doing. 1, he can see this thing. 2, this baton turns into a sword. And now he's fighting and he knows what he's doing.
With her bow and
and arrow.
Honestly, I still don't get how to
are all the white folk on this campus magical? Is this a college of wizards? What is going on?
And why did no one tell me?
Right.
And why did no one tell me? There has to be another early college somewhere. Can I transfer, please?
But that's not her. Look, that's the Robyn brain talking. That is not.
Yeah,
that's
right.
She
Bree ran to the wolf. Remember? You would have seen the flash, and you'd have been like, you know what? I'm about to head inside. I gotta go.
My eyes
I'm not
going
gonna
to
be
do
there.
something because I.
Ooh, look! This astigmatism came back with a vengeance. Let me go. I'm gonna be over here.
I'm gonna go lay down. Y'all got it.
I'm gonna go lay down. You know it.
Do you know Cell by any chance?
I read this book late.
Maybe you should go talk to them. But I'm about to.
You should go. Can I introduce you to Cell? And then I'm gonna go lay down. Y'all tell me when this is all cleaned up. This ain't got nothing to do with me. It might have something to do with my mama, but me and my mama are different. I got half of my daddy's genes. Let me lean into my daddy's genes. Because this is too much. So he's fighting. Yeah, me and Bree are not the same. Nick gets trapped by this creature, and Bree is like, hey, you over here. Hi, Mr. Monster, sir. Look at me. What? He got a sword. He'll figure it out. He know what he doing. What? You don't have a sword. Are you a track star?
I'm like, he clearly knows what he's doing. You saw him lure the monster towards him
away from you.
You saw him do that, and he pulled out a sword, so he knows what he's doing. He's gracefully arcing this sword up and doing all these things with it.
Olympic gymnast shit.
You know better how to get the monster. You're the one who's the expert on how to get the monster out of here. You are the weaponless person who ran towards the smoke that you didn't know what it meant. You are the one. I can't.
And this is what I love about Tracy. Because in a lot of these stories, it'll magically work out. She'd be alright. Nah. She distracted that creature. That creature mauled her. And the last thing that Bree sees, she's like, I'm in pain. There's flames. What is going on? My arms are on fire. This is awful. And then the last thing she sees is Nick yanking his sword free and driving it deep into the creature's skull and like beheading it. And then she blacks out. She done. She out.
This makes me think of Robyn. It's been a minute, but when you were talking about Amari and you were like, sometimes you're chosen to go. That's what this gives me.
Sometimes you were chosen to go sit down. What do you mean? Let me distract a mall, like a wolf with rows of teeth, not just one row of teeth, like a row, multiple rows.
She don't even know what to call this thing. She don't even know the name for it.
It's wolf-like, with rotting neon green light just festering from it. And she said, "You know what? That man who is skillfully fighting with that sword looks like he's trapped. Let me be the distraction. Let me use myself as bait." Girl.
He told you to run. He told you to get out of there.
I love her. It's so funny.
See,
like,
honestly,
honestly,
you left him on red. You've been the whole day. You've been practicing ignoring Nick, and the one time he needed to actually not ignore him, you decided to still ignore him, and that's why your ass got mauled. And this, I like this. She's okay. Spoiler, or she will be, but she get hurt. Consequences.
Yep.
To her motherfucking action.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right.
You just jump into the flame and not get burned.
Literally burned.
It's honestly
literally burned. Stressing me out. It's chapter
funny.
6.
It's very funny. Like, reading it, I'm just like, girl.
That's why look. When I said when we talk about Divergent and the Dauntless, this is what literally I'm like, what? Like, what are we doing? We're just doing things just to do them? Is that what we're doing? We're just gonna jump into stuff.
Wizard Team is back for a new season, and with that comes a few changes. The one we're most excited about, other than reading Legendborn by Tracy Deonn, is that the Patreon chat is back. Support our work by becoming a B&C baddie at any tier, and you'll be able to watch us record live weekly, have your thoughts included on the podcast, and interact with other baddies. Go to patreon.com/blacknerdscreate to join. Bree, so we get, like, in the beginning, we get, like, a thing, like, she's in and out of consciousness. You hear Nick talking to someone, it's William, but someone about her injuries and, what's going on, and then she kind of, like, blacks out again. She wakes up, and she's, like, in this unfamiliar place. She has these bandages, like, on her arms from, like, I think it's, like, up to her elbows, and like her arms are super itchy. She's not really sure what's going on. She's like about to get up, but Nick is there and is like, whoa, playa, like lay back down. And so basically she's realizing, like, she's met yet another person who's a part of this secret order, and he's, Nick saved her, so she had got, what is it, like, basically, essentially, like, acid burns from the it's a hellhound, and she was healed. So right now she has, like, burns all on her arms, but by the next day she should be okay. And so Bree kind of then decides to, like, take that time to get more answers. She's, again, she ran into danger, and now she's in a new situation, and she's gonna figure out how she can learn more from
use this to her
Nick.
advantage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She's doing the same thing she did to Charlotte to Nick.
Exactly. Yeah. And again, it's like it's very, like, on the fly, right? She just woke up from being, like, very, like, gruesomely injured. And now that she's assured that she'll be fine, like, she's gonna heal, she's like, all right, let me figure this out. So
Let's
Nick kind of
down
assumes
to business. Sorry.
Nick assumes that she's a page, and so is part of their order, but potentially from another chapter or something like that, because they've never seen each other, and she seems to have limited information. So she just kind of like throws words at him essentially to see like to make it seem like she's in on what's going on.
She says just enough to get him to keep being like, so you're playing a long game, huh?
Right, right. Like, so then he's thinking like he's being tested, which is annoying to him. Like now he's like, what the French toast is that?
And it's like he's giving more information than he should be given to someone of her status.
He like straight up just like, it's like he's in class and like a teacher points to him and says, explain what a Shadowborn is, and he's just like, all right, let me give you everything.
Here's a definition.
I know everything. And you're like, sir, but again, like, none of these are kids. He's not he's in a secret organization and should probably be better at concealing that information or finding out what people know.
Or understanding.
Well, he was.
But I was going to say, but...
If like evaluations were to happen, like how an evaluation would actually look and like what signs to look for versus being like, I'm gonna assume that because this person has these code words, like it's as if like he were the Winter Soldier and he just assumed because someone had a book and one of the words that was there was like one of his codes was like, this person knows about my programming, and he automatically just started like saying stuff to keep him from like engaging his programming. Like, no,
right. And like, to be fair, we don't know it yet, but he has not been around like the Order in a long time, so he probably doesn't know the protocols. He's mostly living
alludes to it,
about like how he's kind of just living as a once born or whatever, or like a regular dude. So there's that. Like, it's not like there's no reason for him to be acting this way, but it's funny to read because you're like, Bree's really just stumbling her way through this. Like, she doesn't know what she's asking really. Like, she doesn't really know what to ask for completely. And he also doesn't really know
what she knows.
What she knows. So like neither of them know what the other knows and are trying to get information from each other. And so it's a very interesting conversation. Because they're also trying to like, it's like
they're both trying to be like
you, but I'm trying to.
Yeah.
Exactly. But they don't know how to do it, I guess. It's probably But because they both don't know how to do it, Bree is succeeding, sort of.
Yeah. It's like because she did employed it more recently, and therefore it feels a bit more like. And also she's playing his like because he's slightly golden retrieverish, and she's kind of using that to her advantage. That he's like eager to please, and like she's using that to her advantage. But then there's a point where he's like, I
think he probably feels bad in some ways too, in the sense that like
she just got
and also she like feels bad, but is also like annoyed because in his like right now he's kind of realizing, even though Bree is getting information from him, like he is realizing with each question she asks or each thing she says that she doesn't actually know anything, and so but he still thinks that she's a part of the Order. So now he's getting upset and is like, no, but if you're a part of this, you should know this stuff, and who the hell signed you up for this, and like who sent you out here?
Who trained you?
Exactly, literally. Like, whose man's is this? Just trying to figure out like what the hell is going on with her, and so because of that, he's more forthcoming because he's like, you should know this. Like, you have to know this.
They're trying to basically fill each other out in the most clumsy way that also is very entertaining to read.
Mm-hmm.
Basically.
So we do learn about the existence of demons. Which freaked Bree out. She was like, not
demons. My mama and my grandmama taught me about, like, they told me about them
literally
demons.
She was like, we're not about to do this, but you're already here. So but they're called the Shadowborn, and so the Hellhound that they saw is one of them, and he goes into like, when they're corporeal, when they're not, and like all that kind of stuff. He brings up ether and mage flame and how those are like the kind of visual manifestations of magic, and so that's what Bree saw when she decided to run towards the danger. So then we also find out, or not find out, but Bree eventually like lets Nick know that she can see the mesmer, which is like or not see, but she can like break it. Sorry,
the ether.
Well, she can see ether, but she can retain her memories after Cell wipes them, essentially. Like, so she can break them. And Nick is initially like, no, that's impossible. And he kind of alludes to Right, this is a spoiler-heavy podcast. So he alludes to the fact that, like, his mom's memory was wiped by saying, like, you know, believe me, I know that it's not possible to break. But Bree's like, no, I definitely did it before. And so then...
She a different breed.
Right.
She ain't ready for her time before.
This is on some other stuff. And so Cell's on his way, and Nick is like, okay, well, if that's the case, then Cell can't know. And so it's an interesting thing for me, or like, it was interesting to read how, even though by the end of this conversation, Nick kind of realizes how basically that Bree knows nothing, is not a part of the order, and just happens to be able to break this. Like, you know, she's lied to him and also kind of thrown herself into danger that she doesn't know. He's still like trying to protect her. And especially
I love how Bree
from Cell.
Bree is 16, which is like around the same age as Miles Morales, at least in like, I mean, as far as I've known him to be in age, he might be older in the comics. I don't know, Robyn, you can tell me if I'm different. But she definitely has the same vantage point of him as into the Spider-Verse when it comes to like, hello danger. Like, she's like just welcoming danger.
I laugh.
Yeah, Miles is 16 in the comics too. Miles has always been young, a young little cutie.
Yeah. So he's like, you can't. He kind of like needs her. Basically, just not to, you know, reveal to Cell that she knows who he is and remembers him and stuff, because, you know, things could be much more dangerous. Selwyn storms in. He's just got a lot of what's the word?
Aggression.
Okay, yeah. He just comes in so hot. Where's it? Like, I'm like, bro, please relax. Don't people live here? Like,
but I also don't love the fact that like Nick also like does not dissuade Bree from being afraid of Cell. Like as soon as he's like when he says like, don't let him know. Like, it's like very much on like, don't, like, he's scary. Like, don't let him know. Like, it's like. Right.
But I think it's also like
it's justified because Cell is
justified, but it's also like they don't have a lot of time.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like sometimes if you have enough time to be like, okay, look, this is what would happen if Cell knows or whatever. But Cell's literally at the bottom of the stairs. He's coming up. It's like, okay, I'm gonna just tell you right now, don't do it.
But I feel like honestly, Cell came in more guns hot because of Nick than he really did, because he didn't know he didn't know which girl it was that was there. He just knew that it was hot at Nick, and like a lot his temper is flared because of Nick. And then whenever we find out that their emotions are connected to each other or whatever, it's like interesting. This is my overall issue with the Legendborn, who've been on this campus for centuries, literally. Y'all don't have some kind of an alert system whenever the ether hits around the gates or something. So, like, why was Bree the first one to know that a freaking hellhound was on the grounds? Like, why did that happen?
I mean, I assume that I think Cell is the alarm, but it depends on where he is.
Oh, God.
You know what I mean? Like, it depends on where he is on campus, or like how far away he is.
That is a faulty system. Y'all been here for centuries.
I agree.
Not gonna depend on one person.
I agree. But I think he's the one who notices.
That would like
that is the worst.
If I were Cell,
or I think it's just that they're counting on
but
another Legendborn to see.
That might be why he's so mad. I would be pissed too. I'd be like, y'all want me to be everywhere?
Stressed.
Y'all want me to be over here? You want me to take classes? You want me over there?
A lot of pressure.
No. But I also think too, like it.
And he's an EC
I think it's
kid.
also a reliance on the Legendborn in general, or like any folks who can see ether. Because even Cell, like when he comes to Nick, one of the first things he says is like, why didn't you call me when you saw, you know what I mean? And then Nick has a funny thing where he's like, what am I supposed to do? Like text you in the middle of a battle? But I think that's also part of it, is they're just relying
I love
on
them.
folks being on
like,
campus.
what is the Hell House sign? Like a dog and fire.
Which is funny, like in the moment, but honestly, it's probably efficient. They probably should have. Do they have like a Legendborn group chat?
They should have an emoji.
Like you have your location on, right? So it's just like you send Hellhound, everybody converges on your location. That honestly might not be a bad idea. Let me
send my pin. Like here's my pin.
You send 2, send 3. Do the SOS symbol. You know. we just established they do not have a very good system,
They
so
do
they might as
not.
well try to get in where they can like make it as good as they can.
See, they need more people like us who are not dauntless, who will sit here and talk about like we need to update the comm system because this is not working. And where's the alerts? Because why are just randos being able because like Bree's not a rando, but if a rando like had Bree's ability to see like Aether, then they'd be effed up because like what are you gonna do? Like if a rando who's unarmed goes towards the problem before you get there because y'all don't have an alert set up on the campus to tell whenever freaking alert something is there, then what are you gonna do?
They're gonna die. That was Bree almost died. That was what was
Bree, she almost
but again.
But also ain't nobody told her to run towards that thing.
That was on her, yes.
It's true.
And then not only did she run towards it, but then she did twice, and then she distracted.
And she's a black girl too, mind you. She was a black girl, and we are not taught towards run towards danger. That's not what we're taught to do. The opposite is what we are taught to do.
She's looking for revenge, or not revenge, but like
but I'm saying there are people who are taught like that's their brains. That's like
they're better ways
socialized.
Oh, I'm not. Yeah. Absolutely.
And that the way that campus is set up, I'm like they're cruising for a bruising because there are too many people on that campus who would like willingly run towards the danger because their brains are just like, oh, let's go explore this. No.
Yeah, 100%. So as we also get to hear, like in some ways we close the triangle in terms of early ways, right? We see like the how volatile Nick and Sel's relationship is. Like they are beefing and have been, which I think is the other thing. Like Nick is gonna text Sel and Sel's not gonna be like, what? Why are you messaging me?
If Nick were to text Sel, I feel like Sel would come. Like Sel would be like,
no,
what?
He definitely would come, but I just feel like there's a lot. He definitely would come because it's his job.
But also because like I feel like even if he's beefing with Nick, like he's not like I feel like the same for Alice to an extent. Like if Bree, even though she's mad at Bree, if Bree was like, I'm at the hospital, she'd be like, okay.
Right, here I go. I guess I'm gonna come help you.
I guess I gotta come see what this girl's going through today.
Yeah. But I think also like, so you mentioned briefly, Porshèa, like the connection that Nick and Sel have and like I think it's the oath, right? Yeah, like Sel's oath or whatever. And so the fact that it's like two ways. So I'm sure the other thing is like Sel's also probably pissed because he felt Nick's like emotions while he's fighting this, it's like another act.
And then when Bree took this monster, and distracted the monster, I'm sure Nick was feeling all kinds of ways whenever Bree went off.
Very afraid, like, oh snap, not me getting my Pyramenti killed on the first night. What am I going to tell the dean tomorrow?
His whole academic career probably flashed in front of his eyes. He was just like, oh crap. Oh, they're not going to trust me to do anything ever again.
Bree is so wrong for that. No, but you know what I was also thinking is that, like, the emotion thing, I've thought about this every time that I've read this book, is so stupid in terms of the fact that they are, like, teenagers, and like the system is set up for them to just be young adults and full of hormones. Like, why would you tie their emotions together? Can they have? So I just read. I read Fourth Wing, and
how did you feel about it?
You read what?
I thought it was okay. I listened to it. Fourth Wing. It's the big dragon.
I just didn't hear it.
The TikTok book of the month or book of the moment. But in that book, when you match with your dragon or whatever, you like bond or whatever, you talk to each other through, like, it's telepathy. Telepathy, is that right?
Yeah.
When you're talking. Isn't that more useful than being able to read someone's emotions or like whatever with no context or no, and they're teenagers? It's so stupid. I'm sorry. And like, plot, it makes for a good, but
it makes for a good plot, but also makes for a good world, like, for their relationship as well. Like, it adds a dimension to it in that way. You know what I mean? Like, they already have a messy and like volatile history, and that's like because like you said, it's out of pocket. Like, that's a big reason why And it also is a big reason why they, not that they were already beefing, but it's also another reason why they beef in this, like in Legendborn.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's like, it's interesting because they're, you know, they're fighting over whatever, when honestly it's very clear that what they're arguing about isn't the actual issue at hand, because like the Hellhound showed up, Nick dispatched it, brought somebody who was injured to the thing, Will healed them, and you know, everything's taken care of, right? Like in all, you know, obviously there's something else going on because there have been a lot of sightings of Shadowborn recently, but in terms of the like current situation, like it's pretty wrapped up, other than Cell needing to wipe Bree's memory. So the whole argument is not really necessary, but
they got beef.
They have beef. And I also like William,
it's
who's like at a certain point he's just like, all right, y'all, so you know that you're arguing right outside this door and you're gonna have to wipe more memories if you keep talking.
but also like the fact that like
Will, we just meeting William.
I loved it. I love that it's the Will meeting. But I want to, like, even the fact that they're arguing and they're actually arguing about something else is clear when Cell is like, are you standing up to me? Because we both know you can't stand up to me right now.
Mm-hmm.
That day is not today. And Nick backs off and he's like, yeah, that's what I thought.
It was
I was like, you know,
Bree
that
just
is
in the room ear hustling.
I think
like,
the other
that
thing,
discussion is not the issue that they're having is not tied to what's happening. It's like it's a component. Like this is an extra thing that like they have in between them, but it's not the main issue.
And I think the other thing I will say, because we obviously have been talking a lot about love triangles in this episode, but the book establishes, or Tracy establishes very early on, that the beef that Cell and Nick have with each other has nothing to do with Bree. Neither of them at this point are looking at Bree in like a romantic way or whatever. And their like issues with each other are well established and have been before she even came into the picture. Which then makes it so interesting. And like, you know, when we get to Bloodmarked and like their relationship with Bree is not one of the things that tears them apart. But anyway, yeah, it's just interesting that like, or not interesting, it's just like, it's well done, because a lot of times, especially, again, I haven't read a love triangle book in a very long time, but it is very easy, I would say, for the like antagonism between the two folks on the end of the hinge to like beef with each other because of
rivalry.
Yeah, then it becomes more about the girl than it is about like their actual relationship or whatever.
Yeah. I was thinking about this too in terms of how this is actually a triangle, and not even like in the romantic sense too, just in like the dynamics, because what we're about to see in this is like, what we've seen now is kind of Cell and Bree's immediate dynamic is a very short interaction, but you know, now we've seen Nick and Bree's dynamic, and now we've seen Nick and Cell's dynamic, and we're about to see like the three of them and how they kind of interact all together. And I do like, and I was thinking about this when we're, you know, because triangles are always talked about in like the romance sense, but like I actually think that I do like a I don't know if it's a platonic triangle, but like kind of like maybe it is a platonic. I would like to see more of that like triangular conflict, but that doesn't have to center around like romance. Like your relationship with this person affects my relationship with this person, affects my relationship with you.
Mm-hmm.
I think when I say I don't like romantasy, like that is not every romantasy. It's like specific. I think it's a specific kind of romantasy I don't like is whenever there are dynamics within it that everything hinges on whether that relationship works or not, like the main romance works or not. And I'm like, I need you to have a life outside of the romance and a romantasy. It's a fantasy. There should be other components. I think those are the kind of romantasies I don't like. Like I need, if I'm gonna read a book and it's a romance and I know that's what it is, and even then I tend to like romances that have like more than just like the romance as the center. Like there's like someone's going through like personal exploration or something like that. Like that helps me to get into the story. And I think that's what it is. It's that like I do like more complex relationships besides the romance aspect in most things. Whenever the romance is present.
Yeah.
Well, this has that in spades.
Yeah. Yeah, very much so. So then
the relationships are complex.
So Sel comes into White Bree's memory again. He recognizes her, obviously, because they just did this the night before. But she again has to pretend like she doesn't remember him or any of that. Nick is still in some ways like trying to protect her and is just like, you know, don't be. Sel's coming in with a lot of aggression and a lot of like he's doing a lot. And so I think Nick is also again still trying to look out for Bree. But at the end, Sel does wipe her memory, but she bites the inside of her cheek as that happens. Yeah, and that's where we are. Her memory's wiped.
Or is it?
Or is it? Bum, bum, bum.
And in order for her memory to be wiped, Sel had to touch her face. Mm-hmm. And she has feelings of like deep fear for this guy, and as this is happening, so it's interesting.
Yeah, I think it's also that just made me think of like, the differences in the way we see Sel fight the Easel versus Nick fighting the Hellhound. Which isn't to say that they have. It's not really the like. It's more just I think it's like the way that where Bree is positioned when these things are happening, right? So like Bree is kind of hidden and is watching Sel do this and kind of seeing Sel antagonize the thing, asking it, you know, questioning it, and then murdering it, right? The Easel doesn't, and obviously the Easel is like you can tell the Easel is not like a good creature, I guess, but there's fear that Bree feels when she watches Sel kill this creature, whereas when Nick is fighting the Hellhound, he's also like protecting her, right? It's like a very different, just the way that it's described and the way that she like observes it is different. And so yeah, it just clicked in my head right now, just like the difference in their like demeanors and like how they come across to Bree as well.
Yeah, and it's funny because it's like if she had Sel's idea, and I can see that being a component of her understanding of them as people, because Sel's idea of protection means keeping secrets, like keeping things secret, whereas Nick's, well, because he couldn't keep that a secret from her because she ran to it, his automatic response is to like literally protect you and like to get in between her and the monster, because he didn't even engage the thing, like she engaged the thing.
Exactly.
Interesting. Okay, so we get into chapter 8, and the first thing that happens is Bree wakes up to an annoying sound that is making her head ricochet, have a lot of issues with visuals. She's just not feeling great, and she's like, I cannot get up. When she's talking about like her issues with getting it up, she hears a direct response from her possibly ex-friend Alice, who is like typical basically, and Bree is like, wait a second, because she's not even, her eyes aren't even fully open, she can't really see, her brain is not doing well,
she's just waking up.
It's not even that, like she's having after effects from being mesmered, and her brain is just like shaky, and so she's like, what is that supposed to mean? And then Alice is like, you come in here after the day after you got talking down by the dean, and you show up at 1 o'clock in the morning drunk.
I'm gonna just real quick. I was trying really hard last episode to like be
semi-neutral.
not neutral, but like, you know, I like Alice now.
Empathetic.
But it's just like reading this chapter, I was like like empathetic, but also like fair. You know what I mean? Like I understand her perspective, especially in the last one, and also I know where they end up, and so I don't have like, it's not like I have beef with Alice and don't like her. It's just this was and I forgot about this chapter because I was like, what was it? Because like when we were reading last chapters, I was like, none of this is like it's annoying and she could do better, but it's not that bad. This was the chapter I was like, oh, this is why I was like, I don't mess with
oh, mess with her. Yeah. And you know what's really funny too is because like when you were talking about it, I didn't think about this chapter either, and she just comes she's so harsh and it's like hot with it in a way that like, so I remember this one time, and I was in college, and I had a terrible, actually really traumatic experience. And then, like, the next day or the day after, my friend was like, oh, I saw you, and you were just partying, blah, 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 blah. And like, the things that he was saying, I was like, none of this sounds like anything that you would see me do that shouldn't have, like, thrown up red flags. So why didn't you, like, make sure I was okay, right? And he's like, you look like you were having a great time. It's like, no, I look like I was having a great time if I was you or if I was somebody else. But if you know me, then you should have been like, either she's trying to have a great time and failing because this is very much out of character, or something is wrong, which is both, you know, whatever. And that's what I kind of got from this with Alice, is like, even if that was your instinct that this is what happened, or this is what Bree's doing, and I'm kind of skipping ahead, we haven't got into what Alice thinks, but like, if that's what you're trying to accuse her of, you should be concerned. You shouldn't be mad. You shouldn't be mad.
Like, especially because y'all had this big fight. Like, because, like, I think Porshèa said it already, where she's, like, saying that, like, Bree came in blackout drunk or whatever, and it's like...
I didn't get to that part of the...
We didn't get to that. We skipped it.
I get to the part, like, why Alice thinks that.
Yeah.
I didn't say, why Alice thinks that. I just got to where, like, Alice is, like, typical of you to do that. But I didn't get to, like, why Alice thinks this happened.
Yeah, so Alice thinks that she got blacked out drunk.
Because a boy told her that. Because a boy told her that that's what Bree... Like, because Nick told Alice...
Right.
That Bree got blackout drunk.
And I just feel like, as the best friend who's known this person for presumably a very long time, knows that their best friend just went through a very, like, traumatic loss, is actively grieving. And y'all just had this big fight. Like, it's not like, you know what I mean? Like, things have not been going well. Y'all had this big fight. You told her that you don't want to be in this situation again. If this is what actually happened, she went off on her own, got blackout drunk by herself. One, that has nothing to do with you, other than maybe that's just a compounded thing of, you know, she's upset, things are, you know, she might be spiraling. But if she is, it's not just because she's trying to party and be, what did she call her, like, pedestrian or something? I'm like, call her father. Like, I'm sorry, like, if my best friend came home blackout drunk, and that's not like her, I mean, if it is like her, I mean, depends on the age, and there are other factors, but if that's just, like, not like her, and you know all these things about her, why would you not be calling her dad and being like, you know what, I think she needs to go home, she's not ready for this, she's having a hard time, instead of making it about yourself.
Or not even that, or just say, but this is the other thing, and this is, like, one of those things with, like, colleges and stuff like that, too. And this is, like, the woman part as well. They're on a college campus. Charlotte just invited her to a frat party, so who's to say that Charlotte didn't, like, text Alice too, and it's like, hey, you know, Bree told me that you guys aren't expelled, I'm going to this frat party, whatever, you know, but you know that she's on a college campus. Are you not worried that someone might not have put something in her drink? That she might not have found herself in a vulnerable position?
They're also...
It's not even, like, call her father and say she's not ready for this. It's like the illusion of control of, like, if you weren't out doing this, then this bad thing would not have happened to you type of situation. That is, like, that makes you feel like, well, if I never go out drinking, then, like, I will never be at risk of, you know, being taken advantage of or whatever. But, and I'm saying this because of the the story of like Nick dropping her off and saying like, oh, she got blackout drunk. Like, so some white blonde boy who looks like he could be in a frat
and who you've never seen before. You don't know this person.
And you've never seen before. Carries her home and tells you this story, and you're just like, of course, Bree, like, you know, or whatever. It's like, you need to make sure she's okay. Like, this is the story that I heard, and it's like, it's the accusatory tone of like, that was Bree's intention. I don't ever think it's anyone, I mean, it is some people's intention to get blackout drunk, but I don't ever think it's like,
my thing is, I give leeway because they are young, and I think, yes, they are 16 and in there. So that's kind of part of my brain is like, as an 18-year-old, I was concerned about the possibility that bad things like getting drugged or whatever could happen. But at the same time, there's a level of like invincibility that comes with being young that is like, it's not going to happen to you or someone you know.
Right.
And so you don't, I can see how Alice's brain didn't automatically go there, only because there's a little level of like invincibility. And I feel like I've heard enough instances of where someone, like, again, if someone has not been, like, they didn't, if someone is unaware, they go through the worst possible outcome in a way for like personally worse, rather than be like, oh, I need to be understanding, like this is like a thing. And I think that I'm not apologizing for Alice. This is awful behavior. She needs to figure out like empathy stat, like I don't what is going on with you. But the thing for me was that like, even if you don't understand what happened, I'm just mistrustful of people, like especially male people. So like I would not be inclined to believe some random boy over my friend if something happened. And I don't care what my friend is going through. I'm gonna take up for my friend over some random boy told me about her.
Right. And my thing with it isn't what she should have. It's just that she wakes up and it's like, of course
she's judgmental.
She doesn't ask for Bree's side, or like, she's not skeptical at all about the strange boy story.
But and it's like, and it shows how judgmental she is, because she's like, you've become this whole other person. She's already got a narrative in her head about like what Bree's going through, instead of actually being like, I need to sit and listen and figure out what's happening. And I think that's why I'm saying she needs a master class on empathy, because she just does not get it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like anybody with a marginal sense of empathy would be like, something's going on and I have questions.
Right.
Concerned.
Yeah. At the very least,
I just feel like
I have questions.
Yeah. And I also just feel like, in terms of the empathy thing, and then we should move on as well, is like, I feel, I wonder if when they were in school in Bentonville, if they sat around kind of judging other people, right? They're on like the same similar level. They're best friends. They've got the same kind of worldview and stuff like that. And so I wonder if they looked at these kids in this rural town who don't look like they have any ambition, or just want to be, dating each other or whatever, and they feel so outside of that they bonded, or a lot of their bonding was in just like sitting back and kind of judging.
We're not going to be here. We're going to get out of here. We're going to do better,
but also making up narratives of who these kids are and what they're doing, right? Like, and so Alice is now doing that, but doing it to Bree. And yeah, it just feels so, at least in the way that in this interaction, it feels like there's no concern for her. Like, not like I'm mad at you, but that that anger is hiding concern.
That's what I mean. It feels very she's thinking about herself. She's not thinking about Bree and what's going on with Bree.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's just like that's the way, because everything is kind of through the lens of Bree. That's the way that Bree is understanding Alice's reaction. Because in Bloodmark, you do get the sense like Alice really does care for Bree and for her well-being and wants her to actually like have experiences too.
Mm-hmm.
But
and it's not too about being left out of them when we get to there. Like she's fine with not being in the center of all of Bree's experiences. Like she's like, you got that. Like I want to be like where I can get in, like and help. I'm here for that, but I'm not trying to be part of like the whole charade. Like you got it.
Yeah.
You tell me when you need me, and I'll be there for you. But
and makes her own, you know. And I don't know if it's just like the growth of maybe the time apart or whatever. It just feels like when I reread this chapter, and this interaction, I didn't see the concern that I even saw in their first fight, which was still selfish and like, if that's what you want to do, then that's what you need to do, and she's plotting to like have this experience by herself.
Mm-hmm.
But there was some level of, I don't understand why that's what you want to do.
Mm-hmm. It was judgmental, but not like. And there was also like a justified like anger there in terms of like, you know, Bree did get them in that situation, and you know there was that part of it as well.
Like it was affecting both of them in that
right
moment.
Yeah.
Also, like I think I like having been on the side of like someone, like I don't remember who it was. Someone is explaining to me about like, oh, I didn't know you were like that, and I'm like, what did you? Well, then you don't know me. Like, are we? What is going on? Like, what did you think you knew about me where this is out of character for me? Because you clearly don't know enough.
Yeah.
So this feels like they're committing extended cut diatribe against judgmental people, and Alice is very much giving that, and I can't do it. And I try my best not to be a judgmental person. I'm like, I try to be very like, I can see how this could happen for a person, so I'm not going to judge you for it because circumstances happen, and that might not be me, but I get it. Yeah, Alice really needs that. And to be fair, she is in the place where that kind of happens. Like, being in college allows you to break away from some of the stuff that you might have been. Hopefully, some people get worse. They get around people who are similar to that. But some people, like, sometimes I think college does do a number because you're around more people and it's from wider different places and wider, bigger experiences. And it just kind of changes how you see the world and which dynamics you have with people based on that. So I'm hoping that's also a part of Alice's journey.
Yeah.
So after this, she's about to be late for class, so she's getting herself together so she can go to class. And she knows something is off. Her head is not right, like I'm saying. And so she's like, well, let me just go and get started to go to class. So she goes to brush her teeth, and she gets this stabbing, awful pain in her mouth because toothpaste has hit the gash in her mouth. And it's giving self-harm. Like her having to hurt herself in order to remember, which is a very bad, like, result of trying to get out of a mesmer. Like, the only way to break a mesmer is to self-harm.
Yeah.
Right. And I can't remember if that's, like, always the case, but I also know that...
Or if Bree is special because of her...
No. I was, I mean, but also I'm like, she doesn't necessarily have to break it
this is her last time.
Yeah, I was going to say, it might just be like, she doesn't have to do it again.
Yeah. I mean, I could be wrong, but I feel like this is the last time this happens to her. And so she screams, she yells so loud that the girl beside her is like, looks at her, is she okay? And she like finally remembers everything. And so where do we find her next? Being Bree the Creeper, taking a page out of Nick's book, showing up in his class, looking for him. She don't see him till finally she does see him, and she goes and sits beside him. So Bree the Creeper, and I'm calling this her Reconnaissance era. Like, if Beyonce has the Renaissance, then Bree has the Reconnaissance. And that's what I'm giving her. And so the class is Genetics 201, and like it's the first class of the first in the meeting of the class for the year. So that's what I love about universities this time, and this makes sense for why Bree's able to sit up in his class, because the professor has no idea who's supposed to be in his class right now. Like, he has a list, but people come in trying to get signed in, all that kind of crap happens. So he's like, whatever. And so when Bree sits behind Nick, nobody looks at her strangely, because like nobody knows who's supposed to be there. And when she sits behind him. He's like, oh, if it's not my mentee, basically trying to like play it off as if like, you know, the mesmer is still intact. And she gets right down to it. She's like, nah, I remember. And he's like, nah, I think you don't. And she's like, no, yeah, like, no, I remember. And she passes him a note with all the terms that she remembers. And I'm like, girl.
It's so funny because Nick reads it and immediately is like, can't keep this laying out. Like, can't just throw this away in any trash can. Like
why would you write all the words on a piece of paper? Like, this is a whole secret society, and you're just gonna all the words I know.
I love
on ink. Write it down in ink.
And Nick gave me all the definitions for them and everything. If she were being petty, and she just put the words and the dash and the definition for each one of them, like she just does like a definition.
Use it in a sentence, okay? I can win the Legendborn.
Let me break down the etymology of the words. Like, how do you pronounce? Like, this word is the Old Welsh word from the 60th century. I can't. So she has to know. And they had to do like groups or whatever, and so they're discussing I love that while they're talking about genetics course, Nick is like, I can only half remember this stuff, and Bree's like, I have not even taken genetics 101, but I'm gonna tell you everything you need to know so that we can get this assignment out of the way, and you can tell me what I want to know about what happened.
I love that they do the assignment, and I also love that, like, I thought about it, and like, I think this is the only class we see her like actually
do. Yeah. Like, and I love that, but like I love that she dominates the work, and she's like, that shows how she showcases how smart she is because she's like, oh yeah, that this just happens to be familiar to me right now, which is literally how stuff like it would be so funny when people be like, oh, you're smart. I'm like, I just remember stuff that I learned recently. Like, I'm not that, like, I just remember things. That's literally the only thing it is. And so she's like, I'm just going to tell you all the words. I'm going to show you a diagram. And then that way you'll get it too. And we're good. So I love that was a display of her actually like doing the work. And then after this whole conversation, Nick is like, I can't be seen talking to you. So I'm going to ask the dean if I can stop being your mentor.
You know, the thing is it's not the wrong, especially with Cell. We saw Cell.
Yeah.
If Cell sees Nick and Bree walking around campus, he's gonna vampire run straight up to them and be like, "The fuck is going on here? What the hell are y'all doing?"
This is now is when Nick decides to drop Bree. Now, like when the girl is like, you know how much she knows. She just showed that she can break a mesmer twice.
Right. But if you think about it, like, he's not trying to go back there. So yeah, I think it's that too. He's not. This isn't.
He's like, you're trying to drag me into something I'm not trying to be a part of.
He's not trying to be a part of that.
I'm trying to go the opposite direction of where you're trying to go, and so
you keep that to yourself. You figure that out. So I just found that hilarious. And so Bree leaves, and we see her walking outside of class, and wasn't there a phone call she was supposed to return after dinner yesterday?
To be fair,
possibly
she got attacked. Well, she ran to find a hellhound.
To be fair, should she have done that though?
She was distracted.
She didn't think.
She didn't think. That's really what it is.
Period.
She didn't think. But also, when she saw the great green light, she didn't say, "Oh shoot, I got a phone call with my dad." She should have.
She should have said, like honestly, like that's again. If Robyn,
when she was talking about Nick, you the babysitter, I'm not trying to talk to you. She should have been like, "You can follow me, but I gotta call my daddy."
But to get rid of him. But I'm saying like like again, Robyn's answer to like seeing a green thing in the air and being like, no, I'm gonna turn away. Like I could see Robyn's response being like to seeing the ether being like, unfortunate that I can see this thing. I have to call my father right now, and I don't. That's quite unfortunate.
What is my word worth? Okay.
Oh my god.
I made a promise. You know what? Green, terrifying, sickening green light, poisonous green light. I'm sure you have plenty of things to reveal to me. I'm sure that there is a lot going on, and I'm sure that like my presence is what you're trying to get. However, my father taught me what is my word worth. So let me go on ahead. I have commitments that I need to uphold.
Yeah.
I feel like for much as like you talk about your how your ADHD doesn't allow you to like what to keep track of things.
Sure, and I would have totally forgot. I'd be like, Daddy, why are you asking me to call you after dinner?
But my
you
thing
should
is
call me now.
But I'm thinking that the ether would be like, you know what? I just remember something. A reason why for me not to go check that out is because I need to talk to my dad. See how that works? See how that works out? Yeah. But it's also funny because for like literally all Bree had to say now that she knows that they're demons, it's like, not today, Satan, to seeing the ether. And she went towards it.
I'm telling y'all, Bree is
she's reckless.
Reckless, yes. But also she's doing that thing where, okay, so I don't know if this is an ADHD thing, so I don't know if it's like universal. I feel like it's universal though. You know when you get like really into something and like everything else kind of fades away and it doesn't matter anymore?
Mm-hmm.
That happen?
Yeah, occasionally.
Like a hyper focus for a minute and
a hyper focus, yeah. She's in that mode right now, but it's kind of like when, at least this is it for me, when people are like, text me when you get home.
Oh, I never do
Call
that.
me when you get home. And I'd be like, we can hope. I've now gotten to that point where I'm like,
I'm better at it now that I have my own transportation. I don't know why, but I've noticed since I had a car, it's easier for me to remember. Before, when I'd be on,
you don't get on your phone and get distracted.
Yeah, I think maybe it just stays in my head more than like back when I had to be like commuting or whatever. Which is funny because it's honestly more important if you're not like getting yourself to the place. Like, you know what I mean? Like if you're not in control of that. But yeah,
responding to messages is just a problem for me. Like I have a problem.
But it's this thing where like, for Bree at least, I feel like she's hyper focusing on this like Legendborn, Shadowborn,
because it has something to do with her. I magic. Feel like it's coming back to like wanting to connect to her mother and
her mom, right?
Her mother,
and also like she's wanting to connect, but also wanting to see
answers.
It has get answers. See if they have anything to do with her mom's death.
Yeah. My thing is,
there's a moment when she's like, when she's talking about running towards it, where she wants kind of absolution because she does kind of blame herself, which doesn't make sense. But grief doesn't make sense.
Passed away. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
Not just where they were, but like the fact that they were fighting and stuff. But like, I think she might think like, well, if my mom wasn't distracted by our fight or by me, then maybe she wouldn't have gotten to this car accident type of thing. Because she says, I forget how she says it. She phrases it. I have to know the truth. I have to know if not getting a chance to talk to her again was my fault. Okay, so yeah, just more like, but that's my fault for like what? For your mom dying? Because the reason why you didn't get to talk to her again is because she died. So, you know, like she's kind of blaming the death on her. The problem comes in with the fact that you cannot hyper focus on something while also not being truthful to the people that you're hyper focusing on something.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so sorry I didn't text you when I got home. I got really caught up in the cozy fantasy I was reading. I've been reading a lot of cozy fantasies. Do you know about cozy fantasies? Here's what I've learned in this. month in which I have thought of nothing else, right? She can't be like, I'm so sorry, Father. I ran after some ether. Do you know about ether? Let me tell you about it.
And he'd be like,
Apparently
so now
Mom knew
you
about
definitely
ether.
need to come home, and
Need to
also
come
we need
home.
to find somewhere for you to go, because this is not working out, girl. We ain't doing
This
it.
is not happening.
This isn't it for you. You ever seen Ether?
But like,
what is that?
are you listening to Nas albums?
Are we watching Thor 2? What's going
Right.
on? What?
Dark World? It is what, you know, she's gotta make some choices. You can't be keeping your dad in the dark and then not holding up your end of the bargain if you don't want to come home.
Like, the thing is that, like, as much as, like, I am notoriously bad at checking in on things.
Same.
Like, someone asked, like, oh, like, how are you doing? Or like, so being like, I've gotten better at being like, I can at least tell you that this is what I plan to do on this day. If you don't remember it, that's on you, because I told you.
This is the plan.
This is
what's the plan.
This is the plan. And sometimes plans change, and for me, they do change frequently. That does happen from time to time. But I'm not good at, like, if I'm going through a thing, I'm like, nah, I got it. I'll just once it's over, then we'll just talk about it once it's over. But while I'm going through it, I'm gonna just go through it.
Sounds like me.
Y'all are exhausted.
Help? What is that? I don't know what that is. How does that
You're
work?
like, well, I don't have time to show you how I need you to help me, and I need you to help me in a very specific way, so I might as well just
then
do it myself.
I gotta break things down for you, and I'm like,
I'm gonna just do it myself.
No, I can just take care of it, and then it'll be done, and then we can break it down afterwards, and then maybe we'll give you some insights that I'll use next time I go through the thing.
No, literally.
But in this moment,
it is a read. It feels like a read. Because
that's why you can't put me and Porshèa on the same call sometimes, because we just be reading each other. It's really not okay.
Like, was that a stray or was that a target? What's going on? Oh gosh. Okay. So, but I'm bad at it. So, I'm talking about Bree because I see her. You know, I see some of the things that I've lived.
We see each other.
And I just need her. Well, she don't see me. She don't know me. And I need for her to at least come up with a way that she's giving her father enough that he's doesn't have to stress about it. Because the worst thing to have is someone stressing over you when you're barely stressing over yourself. Like, she's not stressing out herself at all. She's just like, I'm a run. Like, she's not like concerned, like, oh, maybe I shouldn't run. Perhaps that would be a bad idea. She's just like, I'm gonna go do it. And if she can at least keep him at a level of contentment, because she's already an underage person going away to a school full of people who are older than her. Like, it's like there's already a component of this conversation. I feel like things would be better. And I know it'd be better. Like, again, I've been there. I know it'd be better for her to talk and say something to keep it from being a problem for her and her father.
I will say this, though. This is something that I thought about once or twice with Bloodmarked, and I realized, like, you know, things shift and whatever. But I was like, her dad really just took her word for it throughout Bloodmarked. Mm. And she kept being reckless. And I always think about this, and I think it's because I'm a very empathetic person, and I'm also a very, like, the rules apply to you and not me, something, or maybe, like, I don't know, the rules apply differently. But I'm like, okay, you know how you felt during the biggest part of your grief when you lost your mother. How dare you run towards this hellhound and potentially put your father through that?
To be fair, she didn't know what was behind the ether. The thing she compared to ether to was Cell. Yeah. She was like, Cell's ether looks like this, but this doesn't look like Cell's ether. I'm gonna go look at it anyway.
Right. Which she didn't necessarily know it was gonna be a monster on the other end.
Well, I mean, and I'm not just. I'm more
the logic
about,
was not
later,
sound.
I'm like, more thinking about later on when she does kind of know, and she keeps running into things. And I thought this a couple of times reading Bloodmarked, where I was like, you went through hell, and you just finding your daddy
keep going.
to go through it to keep going.
Yep.
So fuck him then, huh? Like, you go get your answers about your mama, but fuck your daddy. Like, what?
But here's my thing. This is my thing that this is what bothered me the most. And probably the reason why I've rated Legendborn this way. There's a couple different reasons, but this is one of the main reasons. I understand that she realizes that the police officer that was there that notified her about her mother's death was the first time she saw magic. You know, like she gets that. That's the only way that I see there being a tie to her mother at this point. So she's doing all this running around and reconnaissance for what reason, really, besides like open curiosity about the thing. Like,
well, no, but I think
it has to do tied with to her mother.
I think what it is
no, because she realized that her memory was changed.
Right. So she's realizing her memory was changed in the same way that it was changed when she went to, or when she was at the quarry, right? So her memory was changed and she was made to leave from the quarry because they were dealing with this, it's not extraterrestrial, but for some reason that's popped in my head, with the Shadowborn, right? And so she's thinking like, so if my memory was wiped then because they didn't want me to know about the Legendborn and the Shadowborn and all this stuff, was my memory wiped when they were telling me about my mom's death for the same reason? Like, does that mean then that either a demons or a Legendborn or something? And I don't think she has like a specific thing yet, because you know what I mean, like she's not blaming anyone specifically because she doesn't yet know. She's literally just like, I don't know, something magical had to do with my mom's death. I want to know what that was.
It still doesn't like connect, like, and it probably just the thing is like for me it feels like at some points she's using her questions about her mother's possible death to justify her curiosity in the actual magic system she just learned about.
Well, I think it's both. I think that it's like she wants to know or she goes into it for that, right? But when I guess I think more of what it is, like, as you learn more, you just want to know more, right? Or like, she's now in this
I kind of also feel like
trial, and she's now, you know what I mean? Like, as you get deeper, you're trying to learn information, you get deeper into it, then all of a sudden there are other things at play.
Things that come up, yeah.
Yeah.
And I kind of saw it as like, so you, like the way that Cell sees it, it's like, why are you always at the center of this? Or why are these things happening and you're around? And I think that she also has that, but not in an accusatory way, but in a way of like, this keeps happening. In like, obviously they go through all this work to keep this hidden. And it's a secret society, the secret, you know, they don't want people to know about it. And yet this is like the second or third time that it's happened around me. And the one thing I can think about me is that my mom died.
Because that was the first time it happened.
So it must be tied to that. Because that was the first time it happened. And so they must be trying to hide some magical shit from me about my mom. That's what I think it is. And it's like, yeah, you're making leaps that don't exist, but like, you know.
Grief.
It's like, yeah. And it's like an, am I the trauma kind of moment? So.
Interesting breakdown there.
But she could have done it she didn't have to do it like this.
Yeah. I don't see, I'm like, again, I told y'all, if it doesn't have sound reasoning, I'm gonna side-eye it. Like, whenever, like, Doctor Who, I'm like,
But I think that's also the point, though, is like, Bree is definitely going off of instinct right now. And
grasping off straws.
She's just like, and again, like, I think we talked about it in our first episode, she didn't have anything to like focus her grief on, which, you know, for better or worse, but like, I think this is the moment where she's just like, this is something I can pin on it. You know what I mean? Like, this is something it feels like she's doing something.
Yeah.
And so
perfect distraction.
Yeah. It's like, it's a distraction, but it also feels like she's solving something, whether she is or not.
That may or may not be related to your mother's.
Right. And like, we find out that it isn't. So there's, you know what I mean?
Or is because
or is
the
it
cliffhanger about Cell's mom? And,
or is it? But yeah.
So talking about Bree hyper focusing on this stuff. So Bree, she has another class. She goes to the class. But what's she do during class? Google stuff about the secret society.
She goes to her favorite search engine.
Right, and she's like, let me put like. In this class, it's not at all related, like, to any kind of research. She's just sitting there on her laptop, all the things that Professor Sphere are doing with your laptop opening class is what she's doing. Like, she's like, like, you're supposed to be taking notes on stats. I'm good. I'm smart. I don't gotta worry about that. It's the first day. I'm not gonna, it's whatever. I'm gonna figure out everything I can figure out about secret societies on this campus. And so Bree's hyper focusing on that. She realizes there has to be a building. So, like, she knows that what the lodge looks like on the inside, but she needs to figure out what the building looks like on the outside. So she goes to track it down, and she does that. And as she's looking around campus, she's realizing how much like being Black in the South is a component of like these relationships with these old buildings. And so, like, being Black in the US and knowing all the work that went into these buildings that have been sitting there for literal centuries, and who did the labor behind that work, and then who benefits from that work even to this day, versus like actually being able to just engage with pretty properties, and they're historic, and how nice. I can tell you a history about this thing, and how we're not given that opportunity to do that. And so she's making these recognitions, and there's like things that are triggers. There's a Confederate flag on some things. There's like things that tell you how you're not welcome in those spaces, on those things. And the lodge is one of those buildings, but she pops on right up there anyway. She notices that there's an ether on the lawn, and she just kind of probes it. She just like touches it with her hand.
Pretty.
The same arms that were acid from
how wild she is for this.
Sorry. It's so funny because, like, it's really out of pocket, but, like, at the same time, I'm just like, I love her. Because what is she doing? But I love her, you know?
This whole scene.
She just walks right up to the thing.
That Jay-Z, I don't remember what song it is, when she's like, you crazy for this one, ho.
No, literally. No, I honestly, like, I really felt like, every time I read that scene of her walking up to the lodge, I'm just like, girl, what are you doing? Like, oh no, baby, what is you doing? I remember reading the first time being like, how is this gonna work out in her favor?
It is like I was like, okay, there is reckless, and then there is whatever the fuck this is.
She's going to get what she wants, okay?
And another thing that I will always hate about this, I feel so bad for Nick. I feel so bad for Nick. How dare you drop me in this nonsense? Like, and the way that you drop me in this nonsense. And, like, what?
Like, Nick is over here concerned that she might be a page from a different chapter infiltrating and testing him, when he should really be concerned that she's a pretty face to lure him in by his father. Like, that's what he should be concerned about. Like,
well, you know, like, his father's racist though, so I think if it was, he wouldn't.
But you know, maybe his father's throwing out like a wild card. Like, you know, like he's just
catch him off guard.
Right.
Oh my god. No, it's definitely one of those where I'm like, literally every time I read chapter 8, I'm just like, oh, Bree. I'm
literally like,
chapter 8 and 9. Those are the two where I'm just like,
I understand they feel an affinity towards each other, and there's like this pull and whatever. But how do I forgive this? How you just gonna knock on the?
You Googled it.
How do we move past this?
I said, hey, maybe you shouldn't look more into this. And you Googled it and showed up and then said my name.
And then used his
name. Dropped me.
Like, she knew she couldn't say Sel, because she'd be like, Sel didn't invite you over here. Get out of here.
On some Nene. Now, why am I in it? Now, why am I in it? Why am I always in it?
Why am I in it?
Oh, my God.
I told you I didn't want to be in it.
She's like, I'm gonna go to this building, and the code word is Nick. That's my recon mission. I'm gonna use the code word. The code word is Nick.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that Nick was like, I want nothing to do with this. Like, he literally I will not be talking to you.
I can't be a part of it.
Once again, he's gonna have to.
You. I will not be seen with you on this campus.
This is the dean's fault. He should have picked somebody else.
Did he even get a chance to go to the dean?
He's still in class.
He probably still eating dinner. He's still in class.
Bree took advantage. Bree was like, I'm not gonna let you get rid of me. You ain't got time to get rid of me. Let me tell you right now. Let me show you. I'm gonna show up to this house. I'm gonna tell him that you
sorry
sent
to
me.
this boy.
I know, puppy. Luna hopped up, said, Bree is wild for this. I know. Lost her mind. You gotta go potty, because you're gonna have to wait like 30 more minutes.
No, I love that. That's where we ended, yeah.
Yeah, I like, again, the reconnaissance is upon us, for Bree, because she literally is like, this is it, I'm in. Like, she has mission objective.
Well, no, we didn't. Can you read the last line?
Yeah, I'll read it. Like, it's like she has a mission objective. Well, the last line is, I'm Bree Matthews. Nick told me to meet him here. But before that, she says, well, she thinks. She says, after several heavy raps of the bronze-lined door knocker, I glanced down at my clothing one last time. What does one wear to stake out a secret society? I settled on...
Stake out? You don't knock on the door. What?
She said, what does one... all right. I settled on comfort over fashion. Jeans, a fading Star Wars t-shirt, and low boots. My curls are in a cute bun, high and full on my head. Nothing that screams spy. Because she's on reconnaissance.
She's on a mission. It's so funny because what are you spy? Like, again, she's going into this with no, like, little to no information.
The only skill little to no information, and the only skill she has at getting information out of people is that they are ignorant of what she's trying to do.
She learned like 5 vocabulary words and said, I got you.
I got you.
She's winter soldiering.
007.
She's winter soldiering. She's like, I got words. It's gonna start a mission. It's gonna start something. As soon as I say these words, Stacey gonna
Ask me something. I got the answer.
I got you.
Shadowborn.
Kingsmaid. Scion.
Esel. I don't even think that she knows Scion yet.
Esel.
Ether.
Right.
Ooh.
Hellhound.
For a little
Legendborn.
Sprinkle it on.
Is it funny? She walks up to the door. She's like, I'm Paige from the Western chapter.
Oh my god. Okay. MVP. Mine is Bree.
Reckless.
Clearly, because what else would it be? She's a mess. She's doing all. It's just one of those things where, like, she's doing all of these things, and the whole time you're like, "Girl, what are you doing? Like, why are we doing it why are we approaching it this way?" But at the same time, I love it.
She knows she ain't right.
She's not right, but she's gonna get it. She through sheer will, and like she's good at thinking on her feet. She's gonna do what she needs to do, and I love that for her. But it's a hot mess. It's very stressful to read.
You know what? This last component of like how Robyn like goes like speaks about her, it gives me Lucy Ricardo. Like, it gives me like happenstancing into things. Like, if this were not a fantasy like drama kind of compelling thing, if it were a comedy, Lucy Ricardo.
It's so funny.
I mean, that's the kind of planning that it is very like slapstick kind of planning to be a spy. No,
this is her being
she calls herself a spy.
She's being a spy in a Star Wars tea. Like, big spy energy.
Nothing else.
Big spy energy.
She's literally going undercover. She's been on this campus for 2 days.
Literally.
She's the only black girl in that building.
She's 16
and she's
years
undercover
old.
Somehow. How are you undercover and you're the only black person there? You know how they be looking for us. Girl.
Doing a stakeout by knocking on the door.
Most valuable player.
Okay. I mean, she was so close to being benched.
I still don't know who Mother
She skated by. She skated by, but she was close. I MVP'd Nick, and the reason was I love a good meet cute. That was a meet cute. Like, Cell and Bree had a meet ugly. They had a meet cute. But he's just very much like, I'm gonna be your peer mentor. I'm here to like help you transition and have a good experience. And the way I'm going to do that is by instantly running after you to save your life from a demon, and then instantly take your side about telling you to make sure that Cell does not know that you can remember him, and hopefully you get your memory wiped again and it works. But, you know, I'm not going to immediately just, you know, throw you to the wolves, right? I want you to have peace. I want you to forget all about this. He tried. He really did. He just didn't know. He didn't know that Bree was coming like that.
He didn't. He when he got the whatever you get from your, what is it, a file? When he got that file, it had nothing. Nothing was in there. The dean didn't warn him about this one.
He got like a text.
Yeah.
The dean did not warn him about this one at all.
No.
He's like, actually, why did I volunteer to be a peer mentor this year?
Right? I thought it was cute when she was dodging questions like, why are you here?
Now all of a sudden I'm back in.
Let's go back to you dodging questions. Let's go back to you not wanting to answer.
Not dodging freaking beasts that come out of the ether. How about that?
Ooh. And I also I'm gonna be honest, I MVP'd Nick. Because goddamn that phone call when like, there's a Bree Matthews here, says you sent her. We're at the lodge, please come down.
Oh my god.
Fuck.
I mean, that's next chapter, but yeah, he's gonna have a,
you know?
I know he's gonna be like, what the, like, just
I've been avoiding these folks for
years.
Years.
I told y'all to lose my number, but here y'all go.
I'm back in 2 days. Twice in 2 days.
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in again. And the day is Bree.
Alright, your MVP, Porshèa?
I MVP'd William because he's a fave. He's a problematic fave. I know he's problematic. But I love that we're introduced. Yeah.
I mean, in the way that, like,
all white gays are problematic.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah. I'm thinking about it in the way that Bree, not Bree, but like the Esels and the
No.
Oh no, he's not a tour. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. You are correct.
Yeah.
He's problematic because he's a human.
But it's more than just because like, you could be better.
I know.
You could be better.
But
you could not be obtuse. Like you could try.
Yeah.
But I love that he's introduced here, and I love that what he does is very much like healer first and questions afterwards, and then he has a protocol. He's probably the one who notified Cell, and he also is like, look, I know y'all got energy between y'all. I know what's going on, but y'all need to chill out because if y'all are trying to keep stuff secret, like we're a secret society, like the mission statement says,
he has a lot of sense, and he also
and I love
like
that about him.
And I know that like. Obviously, I don't think he can completely temper Cell and Nick in their stuff, but he can. He knows when and how to step in when necessary.
He's like, I know you have the ability to wipe memories, but perhaps you don't want to do too. You don't want to have to wipe too much because you want to run your mouth and have a full conversation with this guy you have been trying to get on board for a while. Like perhaps you would save that for another time and place when it's appropriate and not in front of my healing center for one. Let's talk about that. It's a healing. I'm here for healing and you're not helping with the healing that is supposed to go on here. And I love that he stays on target. Like he wants to heal and he makes sure that's what's going to happen in his space. So I'm here for William.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Benched. I benched Alice.
Same.
I feel like we talked about it already, but like she's just got to do better as a friend. And again, doesn't mean that she necessarily has to forgive Bree right away. Doesn't mean that they can't still be like fighting, like
beefing.
Honestly. And again, if it plot wise, she shouldn't call her dad. So you know, for the plot, glad she didn't. Bree's out here acting wild, about to infiltrate some secret societies, and it's gonna work somehow. Surprisingly, love that for her. But in like a real life situation,
because of Nick.
But in a real life situation,
she picked the right one.
She picked the
dean picked the right one for her because she didn't pick him. The dean picked the right one, and she
lucked out,
in her favor.
And I love that for her. But in a real life, real world situation, Alice immediately should have been way more concerned, and at like at the very least checked in on Bree in like a real way and been like, we're friends, we might be fighting or whatever, but like, are you okay? What's going on? And at the most, call her dad. Like, if that's what you really think that she's dealing with, then you're her best friend. You're supposed to still look out for her, and I feel like she was not doing that. And
I can see how she's, because of their friendship, she doesn't want to call in the big guns because she's like their friendship or whatever. Like that's like her last resort, and she doesn't want to push the last resort button. But she's not handling it
the
well
way that
as
she
a friend.
accused her.
Yeah.
And the way that she came at her, it felt like, well, this is a last resort situation. If that's how you,
right, if that's what you think, if this is what you think is happening, you need to call somebody. But again, honestly, she's not thinking about the things that, like, she's not thinking about what Bree's going through. Again, she's somehow her mom's death has like left Alice's brain, and Bree is just acting weird for no reason or dealing with these things. Like, I feel like a lot of times when folks want to get blackout drunk, they're doing that because they're trying to avoid something. Not always. Sometimes,
but that's the thing.
Folks, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, so I just feel like it's a matter of like, if you really believe that this is what Bree was getting up to, and you're her best friend, and you know this is not usually how she gets down, there needs to be some kind of level of concern. Again, at least she needed to be checking in with her and not accusing her outright. At most, I would say, bring up Pops.
Again, I think Alice's consideration, like, I think Alice is considered, and that her mother's grief is why Bree is acting strangely. She just doesn't think that that is the right way to handle grief. She's judgmental about it rather than actually being like, she's like, you're being weird. I know you're being weird because your mom.
But she doesn't say that in this situation. You know what I mean? Like, in the original argument, she kind of brings that up. But it's like, in this one, she doesn't consider it.
I don't think she's not considerate of it. I think she just is judgmental. I think she's like, you're not doing grief right. You're supposed to be a sad girl sitting in the corner weeping, woe is me. What you're doing is being reckless and trying to self-soothe by getting blackout drunk. And that is so crappy. I thought better of you. Like, it feels more judgmental. Which, again, still bad. Yeah, still bad. But it gives, like, it's a judgment call, which is, like, I can't. But also just, like, I wonder about what else has going on in her day. Like, what are you, like, why, for me, why is it that was an acceptable idea that that's what Bree was doing? Like, I know she's acting out of character, quote unquote, but why is that acceptable as far as out of character? Has she's ever gotten blackout drunk with you, who she's been the safest around? I don't know. There's a lot of circumstances around it, because I could see her thinking a lot of things. But yeah, I think you've won me around to, like, she's the most spiritual person in this section. Yeah, and I don't think she gets really. I think after, like, next time we see her, it's on a different engagement kind of level.
Yeah, she just has a not great first impression.
Oh, this is what I was gonna say earlier, and I remembered. I feel like how she talks to Bree gives someone who's not trying to maintain a friendship, and that's what bothered me the most about it. Because if you're trying to maintain the friendship, then you're gonna try to, like, figure out, like, what's going on. And if you're washing your hands, like, that's you really washing your hands real early on into someone acting different. Like, you're not trying to, like, you didn't actually, like, let me at least try to figure out what's going on before I wash my hands of it. You really are just ready to cut the cord, and I don't understand if you only get there if you're trying to get rid of a friendship. And that was what was concerning to me. Is like, is she trying to not be friends with Bree? Because that's what it feels like.
Yeah, there's no, like, she's not giving her the benefit of time, or
she's not discussing anything with her related to. Yeah.
Or let me, like, you know, be more gentle or something. I don't know. Like, I'm still on your side type of thing. But I do get what you're saying. It's like, did you want to break up with me as a friend? And this is, like, just a convenient excuse, because we went from 0 to 100. We went from besties to enemies real quick. Or wiping your hands. Ow. Oh, okay, sorry. Thought she was kicking me. She's scratching her own ear. Yeah, Alice, do better.
You can do it. We know it. So thank you all for listening, and join us next week when we discuss chapters 9 to 11. Unfortunate numbers there.
Wizard Team is part of the Black Nerds Create Collective. If you want to keep up with our current content, you can check out our website at blacknerdscreate.com. Follow us on Instagram and Tumblr at Wizard Team Pod and at Black Nerds Create.